On page 13, you will see a large section that is entitled Life Around Camp. And I'm going to run through some of these fairly quickly because they should be some things that will appear as common sense to us, but there's some other things that need to dive into a little bit more. The first is that smoking or any use of tobacco products on the campsite is strictly prohibited. Violation of this policy could result in being dismissed from camp. Any use of cigarettes or tobacco or any drugs, alcohol, anything like that is grounds for someone being removed from the camping experience. And as the staff member, we would certainly expect that you would not be bringing anything like this into the camping ministry. Possession and or discharge of firearms, fireworks, knives, or any other form of a weapon is prohibited. Now this we don't expect that you're going to be bringing in, guns and bazookas and grenades and things, but as myself, I have become very accustomed to carrying a pocket knife, and that's something that I just need to be aware of. Set that in the dash of the car before I get out, leave that at home. There's no need for us to bring that into camp. And it's not that we believe that you're going to misuse that, but what happens if a camper finds that pocket knife in the middle of the night and then something happens? You're going to be responsible. We're going to be responsible, and then it gets us into this big situation that could completely be avoided. Any form of hazing is prohibited. Hazing is defined as the use of physical violence or any activity calculated to impose embarrassment, harassment, physical, emotional, or mental strain on or any activity which would in any way jeopardize the physical, moral, or psychological well-being of any individual. Now, in years past, in the age that my father grew up in when he went to camp and things like that, this was a regular part of the camping ministry. Pranks and hazing, that was just something that they did. Giving rat tails to people in the bathroom, that was a part of their life. But times have changed since then, and those things are now illegal. And we have a duty to, first of all, not start those, but to second of all, end those when they do start. We have teenagers coming in that they want to have a good time, they want to joke around with each other, they want to play pranks. Pranks get out of hand way too fast, even the innocent ones. And so we just have a policy of our camping ministry that we don't allow any pranks whatsoever. We don't allow any hazing whatsoever, and we expect as the staff member that you will put those things to an end if you see them. And things that you may think to be as innocent as a rat tail in the bathroom are actually considered by the law to be sexual harassment. And that can get us into some really sticky legal situations if we allow those things to occur. Neither campers nor staff is allowed to leave the campground without the expressed permission of the coordinator. If something happens as a staff member and you need to run to Walmart to get a toothbrush, or a family member is in an emergency and you need to leave the campground, we understand those things, and we allow those things, but we need you to go through the proper process, which is to go to the coordinating team, ask for approval, sign out so that we have a written log of who is coming and who is going. Now, unless there is a crisis, an emergency, no camper is going to be leaving the campground during camp or Winterfest. And we have a very strict sign-in, sign-out policy. If it's not on their application that an adult can pick them up, that adult cannot take them from camp, even if it's a parent. A couple years ago, we had a situation where a parent came to pick up their child, but they had not put their name on the application as someone that could pick up their child from camp. And legally, once that camp starts, we have custody of that child. We are their protectorate for that week. We can't just give them to someone without the proper legal channels. And even though this person was their parent, we could not release them to them because their name wasn't on the application. But that just goes to kind of express the sentiment that our campers cannot leave the campground during Camp or Winterfest unless there is someone that is supposed to pick them up, there is approval from the coordinators, and we have the proper documentation. Obscene language, swearing, and lewd behavior are prohibited. That's pretty straightforward. Number 7, we believe that the camping environment can be a great atmosphere to develop healthy dating relationships. In fact, youth camp has been a place where many have met their lifelong partners in marriage. Though we respect the dating relationship, we ask that all dating couples, no matter the age, abide by the following guidelines from the beginning of camp to the end. Relationships need friends. Don't ostracize yourself from the fellowship of others. Because this is a camp of various age groups and maturity, please be respectful of others regarding public displays of affection. Most importantly, there are times to recognize when displays of affection, such as hand-holding, are not appropriate. Class, workshops, or church service. Sitting on one another's lap, cuddling together, or intimate kissing is not appropriate for the environment of youth camp. Please help by being a good example of a healthy dating relationship. Be respectful of each other and belongings as well as camp property. Respect the leaders and one another at all times. Campers are asked not to bring radios, MP3 players, iPods, handheld games, or televisions. To ensure the safety of personal belongings, they will be collected and held until the end of camp. Now, to a certain extent, this is enforced, and to a certain extent it isn't. We realize that parents are going to have kids there that have cell phones that they're going to want to use to get in contact with them, so that they know that their kids are doing okay during Winterfest or camp. That's perfectly fine. The kids can have their cell phones. We just don't want them to be on them extended periods of time, because camp and Winterfest are for an experience with God. And when we put those electronic distractions in the mix of things, it makes it that much more difficult to experience God. Quiet hours are from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. There is to be no sharing of beds. Each camper must use their own mattress and bedding. Now, this is really important when you get into intermediate camp for summer camp, because you may have kids in your cabin that get scared in the middle of the night, and they are used to going and getting mom and dad's bed or cuddling with someone. That's not okay. Siblings can't share beds at Winterfest or camp. Friends can't share beds. Kids can't get in beds with their parents if their parent is their cabin leader. It gets sticky real quick if we allow those things to happen, so it's a policy that we stand by. All campers of minor age are expected to be present at each meal, even if fasting. Now, this is one of those no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Every camper that is a minor has to be at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have a legal responsibility to make sure that they are getting their meals, and so they have to be present. Campers are required to attend all scheduled activities for their age group, including classes, services, and meals. Campers and staff must stay in designated areas. The guys and girls sleeping quarters and restrooms are off limits to the opposite gender. Now, there are a couple of times where there is a caveat to the restrooms, and that is in some campgrounds that we have been, the girls' cabins have been on one side of the road with the bathhouse over there, and the guys' cabins have been on another side of the road with the bathhouse over there. In that case, the girls have complete access to the bathhouse on their side of the road, and the guys have complete access to the bathhouse on their side of the road. There's also another caveat when we go to Winterfest. The guys room in the rooms that are off the side of the gym. Now, there are guys and girls restrooms in the gym, and they remain guys and girls during the day and daily activities. But of the morning, before breakfast, guys are allowed to use that girls' restroom to get ready if they need extra showers and things like that. Be respectful of each other's camp property. The person responsible for the neglect must pay for deliberate damage. Help keep the campgrounds clean. All waste shall be disposed of in provided receptacles. And we even have, on the last day of camp or the last day of Winterfest, we have specific zones where people are asked to clean up those areas. And the reason that we do this is we have a motto in the Great Lakes that we want to leave it better than we found it. We want to be that Christian group that comes into this campground and we set the standard, we set the bar, that we're going to leave this campground better than we found it, and part of that is cleaning up after ourselves. No unsupervised hikes, no sitting in cars or buses, no swimming when the lifeguard is off duty. When swimming, all female bathing suits must be one-piece suits. Swimming shorts must be of a reasonable length. Pranks are an area that can shift a great camping atmosphere into one of severe tension and distrust. Keep in mind the following. Several campers continuously pranking the same individual is not a prank, it's bullying. A prank does not embarrass or humiliate. A prank does not ruin personal belongings. If the prank was done in good taste, then the pranker should have no problem cleaning up the mess he or she initiated. There are always consequences to pranks, even to the point of losing your privileges of being at camp. Now, with all of that said, my heart behind it is that just let's not do the pranks. There's really no purpose for them. They're not constructive in any way. Let's put a stop to them so everybody can have an enjoyable camping experience. No water bottles indoors. That's really just for camp. We're not going to be doing any water battles at Winterfest. And all campers must dress appropriately and in modest fashion.